Every week, the Drive podcast takes a look under the hood of the biggest stories from drive.com.au. What to buy now, what's happening in the industry next, everything there is to love about cars, there's no better destination. The Drive podcast, thanks to Bupa.
But right now, I want to talk about an issue that may have popped up on your radar as well. There seems to be an increase in public shootings in the southeast lately. I'll talk you through some of the recent incidents. April 23, a house was shot at 4th Avenue, Marsden. The next day, another house was shot in Stiller Drive at Currabee. April 27, more shots fired into a house at Verris Crescent in Currabee. June 6, June 8, shots fired between two moving vehicles on Stiller Drive in Currabee and Compton Road, Woodridge, respectively. June 24, a group barged into a Jefferson Place house at Stretton. A man shot inside. Shots fired into a house on Gippsland Street at Callanvale, July 4. A man shot after allegedly confronting a rival gang on September 12. And October 1, a drive-by shooting in Surfers Paradise. And Tuesday, a man shot and killed in the front yard of a Corinda house. It's a bit of a rap sheet there, isn't it? Police believe the spate of shootings between April to September are linked to two feuding gangs. Now, Professor Terry Goldsworthy is a former detective and Bond University criminologist, and he's concerned an innocent bystander could be killed in the crossfire. He joins me now. Good morning, Terry.
Yeah, good morning, Bill.
Guns are illegal, but people are still getting their hands on them. How can the police clamp down on the black market? Is that where they're coming from?
Yeah, look, there's a substantial black market or illicit market in Australia for firearms. So the last estimates we saw from the government was that there was some 260,000 illicit firearms in Australia, and of those, about 10,000 are handguns. So when they talk about, these illegal weapons, we have the registered weapons, the legal weapons. We then have what we call the grey market, and they're unregistered weapons that weren't surrendered during the 1996, 1997 gun buyback, or, otherwise got into the community through some means. So they're not necessarily used for illegal purposes, but what happens is those weapons in the grey market often end up in the illicit market, and the illicit market consists of stolen weapons, illegally manufactured weapons, so things such as 3D printers. We've had some examples of that. And illegally imported weapons. So they all make up the illicit market.
Okay, well, the dozen incidents that I read through just then, are they just headlines or a coincidence, or are we seeing a big increase in gun crime and gun possession in the southeast, and we've got a new problem or a problem to deal with?
Yeah, well, I think it's a spate of offences that we're seeing at the moment. There seems to be some kind of gang activity explaining most of them. There was another one that was random, and that's probably more concerning to the police in some regards because it's much harder to solve than the ones where the players are known as known criminals. But, the data tells us that we haven't had any great increase in the homicides in the last 12-month period. Firearm offences are fairly steady in terms of that. So last year we had 146 offences of concealable firearms and 600 offences of possessing other firearms illegally. But backdropping that is that there has been an increase in crime in Queensland the last financial year of 7%. The crime rate's gone up. And we've seen substantial increases in the number of robberies and assaults in Queensland.
Would police on the beat be alarmed by all these incidents involving guns now?
Look, I think the police would be concerned. I mean, firearms, when you use a firearm, it's a deadly outcome, is a certain possibility of that. So we don't want to see the usage of firearms from a law enforcement perspective, nor do the community want to see them. But the problem is these things are, you can, if you're motivated enough to get one, they're quite available. I mean, the dark net, the internet is now playing a role in these things. There was a study done last year that showed you that there was 2,000, just a cursory look, 2,000 weapons available. And, for a submachine gun, the average price was $3,000, and for a handgun, the average price was $1,200. So they're not that expensive. Yeah,
that's so affordable and accessible. So where's the answer here? Like, getting tougher penalties when it comes to gun possession, or is that about right at the moment?
Yeah, look, you can, toughen up the penalties around the drive-by shootings and those type of things. If you want to introduce a circumstance of aggravation in relation to any homicide that involves a firearm, there's a possibility. But we do have a gun buyback going at the moment, an amnesty that started in July last year. but it hasn't picked up much traction compared to previous buybacks or amnesties, I should say. And I think the last figures I saw, only about 2,000 weapons had been surrendered in Queensland to early this year. So we're not seeing too many weapons come back from illegal or that grey market. So I think we'd probably do a little bit more there. But certainly, in terms of firearms, if you want to toughen up those offences, I don't think that's a bad move. We don't want people getting around with firearms in our community. There's no reason for that, and there's no explanation for it.
You're concerned that someone, as an innocent bystander, maybe get involved in one of these and possibly lose a life or will get shot and get injured.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, we've seen it happen. We've been in a shopping centre when two bikies had a set two, one for knife, one for gun. A woman was shot in the buttocks as a bystander. We've seen another well-known incident surface where there was a firearm used in the unit and it actually hit someone on the esplanade some hundreds of metres away and caused significant injury to that person who ultimately took their own life because of the pain that he was in. So, I mean, there is that potential there for innocent people to get caught up in the crossfire, if you want to say that word, from these type of incidents. So while they may be targeted, and the majority that we've talked about today, while they're targeted, there's always a possibility when you're conducting these type of criminal activities in public that someone from the public may get involved, may just be in the wrong place at the wrong time and get injured as a result.
Yeah, all right. It's a worry, isn't it? Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it, Terry.
Thanks, Bill.
Professor Terry Goldsworthy, a former detective and Bond University criminologist.
Every day at Simmons, our people stand by our promise to be with you throughout your new home journey. Over the last 70 years, Simmons have seen and dealt with it all. And despite today's trade and material shortages, our size and strong relationships means we'll deliver on what we promise. So if you're ready to join the thousands of Australians we're welcoming home each month, talk to Simmons, the great Australian builder. Find out more at simmons.com.au. CDB-U 49491. Hello, I'm Shelley Craft. And if you dream of building a home among the gum trees, I've got some good news. The Block is making a tree change and a podcast. Each week, I'll pick the judges' brains about the designs, the decisions, and everything else you want to know about contemporary country styling. And as for the blockheads themselves, hear what they did in exclusive chats with the weekly winners. Make sure you subscribe via Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.